So we're gonna try to play 2 chapters this time around. We'll see how that goes. Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro. So Kokoro is like heart, right, in Japanese?
Said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction.
Gotta turn my head off.
There is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover.
Be radically reformed.
His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory.
This cutscene.
To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
Ooh, silent killer. Silent killer. We're at the British Supreme Court Lord Chief Justice office. Yeah, we're just playing this game, The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're gonna try to go through 2 chapters. We just finished reading the scriptures where we went through the numbers where Moses strikes the rock at Meribah and he gets denied from going to the promised land. Super sad. And then also Aaron gets he has his son replace him because of what that happened. So yeah, it's kind of sad. Susato! Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? Donaway says, I'm nearly reached more than 100 followers, but the concurrent viewers is what I need to finish to be at. Yeah. Yeah, that one's tough if you can't get enough people to hang during that time. What I'd encourage you to do is to make sure you find some people who maybe are in your time zone that are free, and then we can get them to watch for you. No, not at all. Oh, sad. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious, I felt like we were staying in a palace. But with all the gaslights twinkling, it was brighter than day even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Berea, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. Spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except, when I learned that we owed £3 for the room, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Whoops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. Wow, they spent a year's worth of money. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. I'm really sorry. Well, never mind. We must find more affordable lodgings straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. London is a scary place. Good morning to you at this early hour. It's that guy again. Oh, yes, well. Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. You've come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. That sounds amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening. Thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I have already been apprised of the events. Your conduct, a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh. No longer are you a student of the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. Well, he's imposing. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. So I'm a lawyer now. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it at once. I trust that it won't be a problem. Another case already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. Alright. Danaway says, Alright, I'm gonna drop by a bit, gonna make breakfast. Cool. What more were you hoping for? Well, our case didn't exactly end clearly, because it was a not guilty, but not for the reason that we expected, I guess. The jury will not require to proffer judgment. Well, Lord. Then, Zykes, it's been a pleasure, so it has. As for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense. Wahahaha. Kinda creeps. I just can't help wondering. Mr. McGilded was really innocent. Mr. Naruhodo. It's just that I just never managed to ascertain the truth, and then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Agnes McGilded passed away immediately following the trial. That's a twist. Mr. McGilded is dead? Wow. I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. Alright. I guess we're using the conversation thing. I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Was he trapped inside? Yes, of course. That was the scene of the crime with which Mr. McGilded had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. Why could such a thing have happened? That's being investigated as we speak, but already the police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of Mr. McGilded. That's awful. The man must have slipped inside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. The bailiff really needs to pay more attention. Could that have happened? That's also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilded did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Well, must be making my tracks now. It's time for the inspection. Sorry? What inspection? Going to examine the omnibus again, I'm told. I'm asked if I could present for it myself. An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But who is Mr. McGilda talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer of any concern to yours. Leave it to that place. Poor Mr. McGilded. So how did you find the rest of the taste of your country's Supreme Court? I don't know. I mean, it was... wow. Mr. Naruhodo means all experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It really is a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Sato-san is such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. Right. The most advanced in the world, is it? It was fortunate. And that your very first trial was a simple affair. That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Stronger, but the case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating. I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Oh, it's getting dark now. I have to turn on the lights. Zoop. I don't know if that helped. Something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent, wouldn't you agree? Well, I don't know about that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much, at least, is undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I've prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What is he going to say before? Alright, let's learn about the new case. Could you perhaps give us more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me it's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did you just read my mind? That is to say, no one has died, as yet. The trial will not be today. There is plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. So the trial's tomorrow then. Is everything alright? Yes. I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was, well, it left me kind of wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo? I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilda's trial. Ah, yes. I nearly forgot. There's one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there's currently no one to advocate for the defense. And if the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. If that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Here we go again. Okay, he's probably gonna go. Your time's up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time you mentioned 23 hours, he said there's plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo, there's something I should like to ask you. Oh, what is that? Yesterday, you remarked upon something. That you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Soki? I would be interested in hearing what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world works so he could change ours in Japan. Now he's gone. He like to work towards that myself, and there's another thing. Oh, another thing? Continue. On the way here on the steamship, he said something to me. There's something really important I have to do. Something very important. And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. Supposed to, he would have done if he had never make it out to Britain. Out of time. Well, thank you for the enlightening discussion. Mr. Naruhodo, what is this all about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me. I wish I had, like, voice changer thing, but we don't have that set up yet. I urge you to both focus your attentions on the matter at hand. Ooh, who's this guy? Police Inspector! He will apprise you of the details. How long has he been there? So I will wish you the best of luck and bid you farewell. Dun, 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 dun. There's something very important that I have to do. Kazuma-sama, what did you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we'd better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. I hope I'm just imagining it. Wouldn't he say he looks pleased to see us at all? Doesn't seem pleased. Okay, let's examine him. He's eating fries? Could we trouble you? What do you think? Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Listen to me, young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eaten out of your hand, you know? Wanna have some potato? But Susato-san told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate, and I'm here having to give the likes of you a talking to. I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what other officers here will be saying him? Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. And all because of some bumpkin who's here on a jaunt from a country I've never even heard of. Hearing that ribbon sound, that's my reputation at the yard going to tatters. You don't need to rip us apart as well. I don't think we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryonosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. Hey? It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I am Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant to... Eh? It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? Excuse me. It is unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable. What did she pull that? So, Lord Strongheart has asked me to fill you in on this case. Name's Tobias Gregson, Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard. Gregson, Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Does this detective's name mean something to her? Let's talk. Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? You're acting like you know this man, Mr. Sato. He's... Oh, I do know him very well, in fact, very well. Yes, he features prominently in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, in that publication, what's it called? A Rand's magazine? That's right. Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoy a friendly rivalry. Really, you're the rival, Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible. Well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course. He does come up with the goods from time to time. Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You earned his highest praise. He... Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise. Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see. That he's not. Thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now. That's great, isn't it? I have to admit to start with, I was a little, well, flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. Well, that's wonderful. No, it's not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumors? Are you sure? Quite sure? He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that. You really think people are saying mean-spirited things about you? Like I said, there's a they whisper. I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what folks are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. I'm sure an eggs is eggs. I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear, perhaps a sudden rise of fame does change people. Okay, let's find out the case. So about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before? Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler. Oh dear, that probably means that as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it can't be more complicated. I wish you could be wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. A young woman was walking along the pavement on the Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in hospital, unconscious. Wow. That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? Suppose you would have finished whoever it was with such a takedown, couldn't you? Would you? That is neither here or there, Mr. Naruhodo. Brace yourself, right, Ryunosuke. You've anchored her now. Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit. Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question? Let me stop you there, right there. You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry, there's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why ever not? Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Berg van Zykes. No! Sounds like you've heard of him then. Oh yes, we've been very familiar with Lord von Zykes. Believed to be the harbinger of death, or harbinger of death itself, the Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Berg von Zykes, who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGilda's told us... Hey, Sean. Have a good, safe trip. Why don't I pray for you for a sec? Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time, and I want to pray for Dunaway and also Sean, and for Radically Reformed. God, I pray for a safe trip for Sean, that he'll have a good rest when he gets home. I pray for Dunaway as whatever he has to do today, that he'll be pretty productive, and for Radically Reformed as he continues to work, that he'll honor you with what he's doing and give his best to you. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. All right, Sean, let's turn back on. I don't even know how loud the game sounds are. Probably not loud enough, honestly. When Von Dyke stands for the prosecution, they're called accused to sacrificial lambs. Every single trial he's been prosecutor, the accused has been condemned. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname. I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates for against is found guilty, isn't it? Well, if that's the case, you should be informing the inspector that in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Dykes, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty. And what of it? Oh, well, I think that means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant. No, you really don't have a clue, do you? What do you mean? What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Magnus McGilly came up a cropper in that omnibus when it went up in flames. So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you? Oh, what are you saying? Look, if Von Sykes could get the dirt to stick on anyone, he'd be a miracle worker, but that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles, he works magic. Black magic. Sure. Have a good long think about that if I were you. Are we really supposed to believe that? I think we might need a break with some snacks. Right, well, I filled you in as requested, and I'm very nearly out of chips. I want some chips so bad right now. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations here. It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you? That's where the incident took place. That's correct, ma'am. If you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself. You'd branded him a criminal already? He's as good as shaking like a leaf in his cell, he is. I'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he'll show you the way. Inmate 53, thank you. Hey, Twitch Theologian. Oh, I forgot to change the name. We had just finished reading the Bible, so we forgot to change that. Swap out. We did play some theology play by reading the scriptures. Today we read through Luke. We started new Gospels. And we also read through Numbers, where we talked about Moses kind of disobeying God and getting denied from going to the Promised Land. Pretty sad. And then we also read a bit of Psalms and Proverbs. So, yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint you. You missed it. Just by, like, maybe an hour. We're going double time with this game, but before that, I think I'm gonna get a snack. So we're gonna go be right back. But I hope you're doing well, and if you have any prayer requests, let me know. I'd love to pray for you. But go be right back. Oh. What's the topic for your sermon, Mr. Twitch Theologian? Hmm. All right. Ah, okay. It says, yeah, we follow the lectionary. Ah, I see. Where's this button? It says, and as he came out of the temple, one of his disciples said to him, "Look, teacher, what wonderful stones and what wonderful buildings." Jesus said to him, "Do you see these great buildings? There will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." And as he sat on the Mount of Olives opposite of the temple, Peter and James and John and Andrew asked him privately, "Tell me, when will these things be? And that will be the sign when all." Oh, that is a pretty long verse. Long passage. That's cool. What if you press if I typed it again and press next, we could see what's the next part. Next. But that's pretty neat that you follow a dictionary, because we don't exactly do that. And be on your guard, for they will deliver you over to the councils, and you will. Well, I think that's a little further too. If I go previous. Yes. Nation against nation. Uh, Tell us when these things will be. Yeah, previous again. That, yeah, we only hit like maybe 2 or 3 verses. Jesus began to say to them, "See that no one leads you astray, and he will come in my name, saying, I am he, and they will lead many astray. When you hear the wars, rumors of war, do not be alarmed. This must take place, but the end is not yet. The nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places, and there will be famines, and these are but the beginning of the birth pains. Be on your guard, for they will deliver you over to councils, and you will be beaten in synagogues, and you will stand before governors and kings for my sake, to bear witness before them." Wow. It's very, maybe, partially eschatological. Maybe. I don't know what you're gonna do it on, but I hope it goes well. Let's pray for you and your work. Dear God, thank you so much for this day. We love you and appreciate you. And God, would you give Twitch Theologian the focus and the productivity to finish and give a good and clean and edifying message that will help his congregation and for our sermon. I pray that you continue to work in his life, so you honor your name, and I give this all to you in Jesus' name, amen. Ooh, there's a parallel read from Daniel. It says, "At that time shall arise." Let me pop it up. This is Daniel 12, 1-3. "At that time shall arise Michael, the great prince, who is in charge of your people, and there shall be a time of trouble, and there is never has been since there was a nation till that time. But at that time your people shall be delivered, and everyone whose name shall be found written in the book. Many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, and some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And those who are wise, there's generally 4 readings every week, and I usually only pick up one to preach on, but sometimes they flow together." Oh, okay. I see. Neat. What was the next previous part? Oh, yeah, right. We're still my verse was still referring the previous verse. It's okay. Okay. But yeah. I haven't read Daniel in a long time, so because we're following the chronological read, and we aren't there. Old Testament takes a while to get to. We're still in Numbers, unfortunately, and finish some Psalms. Right. Is that is that also in the New Testament the term the abomination of desolation or something? I don't remember. It'll be 1,290 days. Blessed is the one who waits and arrives at. So those days, I don't even know if they're like days or like do they have some significant meaning in the Hebrew or something? They're probably someone would probably have to study that. 42 months. Okay. I'm gonna eat a snack. Eat a granola bar. Oh, oh, oh. 42 is the number of times the Israelites camped when they were in the wilderness while wandering for 40 years. Okay. Yeah. And that would be the after captivity or captivity. They go to Canaan, and they fight. Then after their kingdom's established, they get captive. Revelation 13. Rev 13. The beast was given a mouth uttering haughty and blasphemous words, and it was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. Oh, wow. I wonder if it's like a coincidence of time, or does that refer more to the past, or is the past reflecting to the future? I don't know. Wow. There's so much to study in that section, if you really wanted to, I guess. 1,290 is echoed in Revelation 11, Revelation chapter 11, verse 3, and 12, verse 6. According to the Twitch theologian, I'll grant authority to my two witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. Yeah, it's kind of funny how those fan fiction Left Behind series interpreted those. So I wonder how exactly that will work out and what exactly it means. Do we know who these two witnesses are already? Are they in the future? Because it says, I will grant, so it seems like the future. Like, have we passed that future? I don't know. Anyway. Ooh, here we go. More passages. Then you have the wording of times that they use. Found in Revelation 12:14 and Daniel 12:7 says in Revelation 12:14, the woman was given two wings of great eagle that she might fly from the serpent into the wilderness to the place where she is to be nourished for a time and times and half a time. Interesting. So there's 2 seasons or something. Then it says here in Daniel, and I heard the man clothed in linen who was above the waters of the stream, and he raised his right hand and his left hand toward heaven and swore to him who lives forever that it would be for a time, times and half time, and that when the shattering of the power of the holy people come to an end, all these things would be finished. Man, yeah, it's like apocalyptic, prophetic. Right. So this is talking about Jesus in a bit, I guess. So you have an image of Christ here. Yeah. Do you have your sermons online, or does your church not really into that? Because I would love to maybe see it when it gets out, I guess. You check it out. What's your YouTube page name? Oh, it's so is it do you save them, or is it just a live stream and then you kind of cut it off and not keep it online? Because I know like some churches aren't into that either. Which oh the do you have it at oh yeah. I hope it didn't block your link. I'm not sure if I did or not. Apparently it didn't block your link, so maybe something broke, maybe something didn't. All right. Well, I'll check it out when it comes out on the next week, I guess. But pretty neat. Appreciate you for sharing. Ah, the dividing line is on. I like watching that as like white noise. Okay, back to the game. And the lights are super not bright anymore. Let's see. And all right, we sort of have my face is like kind of blown out. I see, I see. All right, I'll definitely check it out after. Oh, okay, let's see. What does Susato say to us? Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? That's me. To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage, too. If the man they've arrested is innocent, I appreciate it, the Twitch theologian. I hope that your sermon gets done soon. Though I don't know. Some people take longer, right? Could be a day or two. I could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight that funny. I don't know. You you could take your time or not take your time. So, if I'm honest, I'm still feeling the shock of yesterday's events myself. I could put it on this side, maybe. Hides the chat. Oh, really? Well, yeah, certain denominations also have a different like schedule in their Sunday thing or Saturday thing, so totally understand. You know, I hear certain pastors like Jeff Durbin, he takes like 40 to an hour or more, so just kind of brace yourself and get ready for some super, either something super in depth or it just takes more words. I'm not really sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. Yeah, I've been to a few liturgical churches, so to speak, so it's different, but in a same in a different way. I think I'm gonna take some inquiries. Will you help? Did you really think you had to ask? I think like some reformed churches are more liturgical in form. Some aren't. Some are, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Won't take up more time. After all, I'm your judicial assistant. Thank you. So then, shall we? Yeah, let's go. All right, let's head. Let's move. Let's go to the prison first, I think. Man, these prisons are not comfortable at all. Local prison, cell 9. So these are British prison cells. Oh, they're ghastly. It feels like a dungeon. Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo. You're making it seem worse. Apparently, our client is in this cell here. But it's so dark in the back there. I can't seem to make out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop hiding in the back of the cell and show your face at once. What? Am I a cat? As yet with no name? Call me by a number. It's utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer. Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to be called a number either. Nom nom nom. What do you think is going on here? No idea, but I wasn't just hearing things, was I? A tirade of complaints. It was in Japanese. Ooh, we have another Japanese man. Yeah, excuse. Quiet. They're all around hiding. I know they are. They're watching, listening. Even now, I can sense it. What's his eyes? Right. So, could I ask what they are? Don't come to curse me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it. You're a ghost. A ghost? Hmm. You're no harm, prisoner-san. Are you Japanese by any chance? This is beyond my wildest dreams. Forgive me for that outburst before. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We're just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am in a frightful fix in a foreign land. So hearing the sweet, sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here at this damp, dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moment. That's all. We could have guessed that this new client Lord Strongheart assigned to us turned out to be fellow Japanese. Like anime eyes. What compassion my fellow countrymen show. To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never failing, Nippon. A first-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's something I'm misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what happened? I've been detained as a suspect, for example? Hey Daily Planet, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. I sort of missed your stream yesterday, but I hope you're doing well. I had a headache, so I kind of tried to rest as soon as possible. Weren't you playing some football in? How did it go? Are you getting pretty pro at the game? We just had finished reading some scriptures we had some numbers, we had some Luke, and we had Psalms and Proverbs. Nice. I've actually not touched Fortnite in like forever, essentially. My friend asked me to try to play it a bit because we had like a return to Fortnite thing. Nice. I'm glad you're undefeated. I just played on easy mode and just win, you know. I was pretty good at is it NFL? Not NFL. Good at FIFA. I enjoyed playing FIFA a bit, but I have not played in a while. Why, you've been detained as a suspect, for example. Yes, I can, I will. Shan't stay sullen and silent. I'm so confused with this guy. Want to come and say hi, gonna lurk. Have a blessed stream. No problem, Daily Planet. Let's pray for you first. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day. Pray for Daily Planet as he continues to be pastor and an awesome dad. God, would you continue to work in his life and give him the energy to be the best example for the people around him, and that he would honor you and share the gospel with whoever he meets. I give him to you, and I ask for your kindness and mercy to him. In Jesus' name, amen. Alright, goodbye. Oh, I totally didn't turn off the game audio. Clicked on the wrong button. That's okay. I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy. Yes, he does. I hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thanks for your cooperation. I'm a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And I'm Naruhodo-san's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. I'm a visiting student sent here by our government. Notoriously named Natsume. Soseki Natsume. Soseki Natsume-san. What an unusual name. Call me Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see. A writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume. I don't know what that means. Name of a feather? Feather name? You mean an alias? That's right, Mr. Naruhodo. No, don't be so prosaic. It's much more refined than that. And haiku, that really reminds me of... Did I hear you say you are a visiting student sent over here by the government? Yes, a year ago I was told to go and study English. First I had to suffer that misery, and now this. It's beyond pale. Suffer that misery? Did you not want to study here? No, I mean, I had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh. But just because the government tells you to do something doesn't mean you can do it. No. What do you mean? They told me to study English literature. That I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable. Oh my goodness. I see. Only the other day I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on white, washi. It must be a man of great standing. Oh yes, I have often told. I often like to be told, it seems. Okay, what's your accusation, man? Could you perhaps tell us why exactly you've been arrested, Soseki-san? I didn't do it. I didn't commit that atrocious murder. Murder? Oh no, it's alright. The woman didn't actually die, did she? Well, she was stabbed with a knife right before my eyes. Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker? I didn't see anyone. What? If I'd seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here? Oh dear, it seems this case is becoming rather complicated. Why me? Why me? Why that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's a curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient. So Seki-san was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker? It's vital that we find out more about this case. It was an accursed evening, just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books, and I was on my way back to my accursed lodgings. Sure, the bookshop wasn't accursed too? As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out a sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was. It was just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. How terrible! I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard. Slight exaggeration there, perhaps. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs could carry me back to my accursed lodgings. Okay. That's not good. They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that. Tell me, Soseki-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours? Don't be ridiculous. Do you think I know any of these fair-haired English? And a young woman at that? Diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people. I see, a young woman unknown to Soseki-san, and at the time it happened. Who else did you see nearby? Did anyone pass you? Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one. Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you and there was no one else on the street at the time? That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? What conundrum? What do you mean, Susato-san? What's the conundrum? Well, if that's Seki-san just told us it's true, there's something I can't explain. He says he didn't know the victim and there was no one else at the scene, and he apparently fled without having been seen. I did. But if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit. What did you say? Nothing, I didn't say anything. Oops, perhaps I thought that a little too loudly. Actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Seki-san actually come to be arrested, right? That means someone else saw him. He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. How did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh yes, that's right. Probably saw his souls or something, right? It was him. That accursed great detective. He led the police to me. Of all the bad luck, accursed great detective. Could it be? It must be our Sherlock Holmes. I'll never forget that man's name as long as I live. With his haughty laugh and self-proclaimed greatness. Rash, big-headed, busybody, be gone! May you be cursed until the end of your days, Sherlock Holmes! I knew it! We found out who the culprit is. Mr. Holmes? Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after the nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst in through the door. They started shouting at me, "This is the police, put the weapon down!" Yes, it was a thin sliver, yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgustingly. Dietary discrimination, devils. You clearly had trying morning yesterday. And there he was, in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. Sherlock Holmes! It's actually Sherlock Holmes. He's English. I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London. The great detective is really well known. His overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. Thinks I'm a knife-wielding madman. Me? This weak, stooped kitten of a man? I wonder what that great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time. You mean to say that Mr. Sholm's deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable. Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in. Of course you were. That's the only natural. I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me in impossible English. Fiendish foreign film flammery. Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point, good point. My mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say, so I just kept repeating things like, "Yes, I do, and I'm fine." The next thing I knew, I was in manacles, and before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear, I'm afraid. That's hardly surprising. Fine? He's not fine now. It really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. Please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? No, why is it so hard to say yes to me? Well, thanks, I'm just a student like yourself, on a study tour. A student? I've defended a case in Old Bailey. Only the one, though. At this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. Oh, Naruhodo-san. I'm not even the foreign student who's supposed to be here. I'm sort of a locum lawyer, I suppose. What does that mean? You stand in place of another lawyer. But that armband, that's the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire. It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. My keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me. Who do you mean? The lawyers, all the British defense lawyers. They won't defend me. Goodness, why do you say that? For the same reason as you noted before, when it happened, it was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I might be the culprit. It must be very hard for you, Soseki-san. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them. Someone not to be trusted. I heard them opening laugh at me before, in my earshot, without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said, and of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say the man doesn't understand half of what's been said anyway. That's awful. They're wrong. I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me, my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through, Soseki-san. It's just that... Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being. What do you mean? We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible, and if we can find some clues, give us a better chance, I'm sure. Yes, thank you. I'll be here all alone, waiting for you. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. We should be going then, Miss Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for. Alright, let's move. He's excited about your helmet. You meet our sort of friend Gregson. What's the Japanese delegation doing here? Inspector Gregson. This isn't on the tourist trail, as I'm fairly sure you're well aware. Of course, we're here to investigate. So you've been to the holding cells then. What'd you make of the criminal? He's not a criminal as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect. We'll see about that. Your Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Do what you will, it doesn't bother me. The book's in court tomorrow whatever happens, and the verdict's a foregone conclusion. Stone cold air of rejection. Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone cold air. That makes it worse somehow. Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place. The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am. And you know, I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. It does make them look apart, seeing the policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this man who will take no nonsense for his duty of protecting the city. Doesn't he look wonderful? Being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell you. Oh, really? First thing in the morning, you know, what he does? Goes around and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off to work. He wakes people up? Yep, raps on their windows with a long pole. Did it myself. Going back a bit. I had no idea. Bobby worked for the people of town, just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's regulation distance. I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way. Let me see. 20 miles. That's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot, that's definitely taking things a step too far. And when it gets dark, of course, he has an important job of lighting all the gas street lamps. Oh my, and I suppose between all those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well? And chase after criminals trying to evade the law? I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly, more alongside that, but yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We have men keeling over from time to time, I admit. I always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But with a heavy heart, that's all I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if I do. Okay, let's find out about the case. It happened around 5 in the evening 2 days ago, just here on the open pit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind. Is it right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned she's been treated in the hospital. Never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, you won't be able to find out much about her at all. Suppose that means they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course. Here's a map of the local area. I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want. Excuse me. Are you sure? It's your policy to give lawyers defending suspects the odd bit of information to go on. I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. I gratefully accept. Alright, we have a map. Anyway, as far as we know, there is no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So, who did it, do you think? Not much of a head-scratcher, is it? Well, Mr. Natsume is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can be sure that nobody else was present. I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure. How? Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed. What? We have 2 very reliable witnesses, no less. Ah. It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them. There were witnesses now? There were. Who are these witnesses, Inspector? Fellow and his wife. And the man's one of the most reliable, respected citizens of all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard. Policeman? That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked? Nothing peculiar about that, ma'am. Part and parcel of being a hobby. Bobby. Catching them, banging the act and all. That. Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions? Be my guest. You can ask him whatever you like. What you like. In court tomorrow. I have no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness, so that'll give you something to look forward to. That's that then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. The policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this can make our job very difficult indeed. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I would have warned me of that too. Hey, missionary. Missionary Gamer sends us the verse of the day, and it says, do not love the world or the things of the world. If anyone loves the world, The love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh and the desires of the eyes and pride in possessions is not from the Father, but is from the world. Yep, that's that. That's a very nice overlay. Well done, sir. Oh, well, actually, there is literally nothing much of an overlay in this scene. How did I do what? See, this word, this, oh, that thing, right. So I use a thing called featured chat. So you log into it and you go to your dashboard and you can actually flag comments on your chat to display onto the screen. Yeah. It's called featured.chat, I believe. So you go to featured, let me just double check how I get there. Feature.chat. Yeah. Hope it's of any use to you. Yes, one more thing, Inspector. What? The person who led you to the suspect, I hear that was Mr. Sherlock Holmes. What are you bringing him up for? Well, alright. I guess you didn't have anything that you'd like prayer for. That's alright. Tomorrow's trial. Let's get to that. That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not? Well, okay. Have a good prep for your stream. Let's pray for Mr. Missionary Gamer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing Missionary Gamer over to just bless us with the verse of the day. And of course, I'm getting ready to stream, whether it's for his development. God, would you continue to help Missionary Gamer be productive in his software development as he works on God glorifying games in this company. And I pray that whether or not it gets really fast and quickly done, that you continue to bring people to hear the gospel through the process, as well as when we finally can launch and enjoy the game together. Yeah, God, so you continue to help him and his family and be a good role model to his children. And yeah, I really appreciate him, and God, I just want to thank you for bringing him in my life. Yeah, I give this all to you in Jesus' name. Amen. Alrighty, bye-bye. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean? There's no way to save that man now. It's a waste of time trying. It was a little bit strange, though. Sorry? The Reaper? He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now. Right. Yes, we did hear something to that effect. And the only people who he usually bothers with are real scum. The master criminals, the violent ones. Master criminals? The violent ones? That's right. He handpicks his victims, only deals with those guaranteed to go in the gallows for their sins. But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely? That's just my point, sunshine. Yeah, I'm getting a little cold. The young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. Can't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase. Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it? No, there's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taking an interest. Really? What sort of reason, Inspector? You think I can tell what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness? You have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial. Are you really going to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he puts it? Okay, let's find out about Mr. Holmes. Who did you hear that name from? Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsumi who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Holmes with the police when they entered his lodgings. I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational great detections. Oh, oh. Please dream elements. That man's an amateur. I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere. Uh, I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime, wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case. Just he's quite astounding, isn't he? He's a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he? Gibble gabble. Ever seen this before? That's the Rand's magazine, the wonderful publication in which Adventures of Sherlock Holmes appears. Yeah, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of Yard's detectives in its story. That so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any of Sherlock Holmes' tale at all. I suppose there's an element of that. We work our socks off, every one of us, not only to be shrumped by the public thanks to this obnoxious a detective. The man's dangerous to us Scotland Yard as he is to all our criminals. That can't really be true, can it, Inspector? Really, the great detective and the police have a complex relationship. Let's get some more granola. Hmm. Well, I don't think we're getting any more information from this detective. Let's search the scene. Maybe. Can be a suggestion? What is it? Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this. Whom? Sholmes? Mr. Sherlock Sholmes, exactly. Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsumi did blame Mr. Sholmes for all of this, didn't he? He did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in this case. Are you going to just ignore that? I hope not. For you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet Mr. Sholmes again. The trouble is, you have no idea what the man's address is, even. It's Baker Street. How do you know that? It's in the stories, of course. 221 Baker Street, the most famous address in the world. I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We better try finding our way there before Sato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable. Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage. So we're going to have a read. I need water. We're gonna have a reunion already. Great Detective Mr. Sherlock Holmes. We examine other things, but I can't find anything out of place. That's one of the officers from Scotland Yard. The police are making sure this crime scene is undisturbed. I have a feeling if we wander too close, we'll be clapped in the irons. I think perhaps you're being a little overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern. I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I found myself in handcuffs despite not knowing a thing's going on. Should have had some dreadful experiences. Sure, it's a wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. Doesn't know you no favors at all. That's a Scotland Yard carriage. They use vehicles like that to rush to crime scenes and cart away criminals. You're very well informed, aren't you? It's long been a dream of mine to ride in one of those through the streets of London. Well, just pick up a stone and throw it through one of the windows then. But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it, wouldn't it? Still, if it's the only way, let me find a good stone. It wasn't serious. British bicycle. Look. Well, the wheel is so misshapen, I'm sure it couldn't have possibly been ridden anymore. Someone must have been doing some breakneck cycling. Seems bicycles have become extremely popular in London recently. There's even movement to change women's dress to allow them to ride well. Bicycle fad won't last. I don't see why anyone would want to ride a bicycle, something like that. Do you dislike bicycles? No, not at all. I mean, it's not like I dislike them exactly. It's just that any occupation that involves taking both of your feet off firm ground seems reckless. If you ever tried walking on stilts falling into a river, I know you'd agree with me. Well, we have to hire a bicycle sometime. You can sit behind me and I'll ride you around. That's rather typical old brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it's a long, interesting history. Well, time certainly seems to have taken its toll on this place. It's crooked and sagging all over. In fact, it looks decidedly worse shaped than the other houses around here. We must find some cheap lodgings ourselves as soon as possible. Yeah, you're right, cheap, but ideally with reasonable level floors. Oh, look at the windows of that building there. Are you sure they're windows? They're all filled with bricks. Right. Wonder why. Perhaps it's empty property where no one lives at the moment, and there's smoke coming from the chimneys, though. Oh dear, everything still feels very foreign. There's so much we could learn about this place. Well, I don't really know if I want to check out that. What a delightful snowman. I didn't realize English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It's a little creepy, though. There's a scarf. Look, you need one if you're out there freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one. I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the time, too. We certainly can't afford a scarf. Surely the snowman here wouldn't miss this, but the person who made the snowman certainly would. Yeah, I know, you're right. Anyway, even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. Socks. Okay, let's just go. With the Sholmes suite. This is where the great detective makes his living. Kind of feels surreal. Is it as described in the stories, Miss Susato? Susato-san. Many, many famous cases have been solved here in this very room. I suppose they must have been, yeah. I never read the stories, so it's hard to get it quite as excited about it as she seems to be. The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it! The romanticism! Did you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo? I suppose I can, yeah. So, don't mind. She's just soaking it up. Yep, looks like he isn't home. Is anybody home? Do you have a visitor? Hello? Is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes? Hmm, hello. Wait, aren't you? How rude of me. Go make some tea at once. It's the same girl. The same girl as in the one that made the contraption that could shoot a smoke grenade. Isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case. The King of Bavaria? King Wilhelm Grotzer Reich Sigismund von Ormstein, of course. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Sherlock Holmes for a moment. Just look over there. Tea's brewed. I have a freshly baked cake as well. It's you! I knew it. Susato-san recognizes her too. There you are. Taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run on my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine. It's a girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilda's trial in the defendant's antechamber. Never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Poor you, having to set straight to work when you only just arrived in London. Yeah, it was challenging. Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know. Thank you. Is tea supposed to look that color? Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray, it's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here. And you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. And you're to defend a Japanese man? I do wish you lots and lots of luck. Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us by any chance? You know Hurley, do you? Hurley? Mr. Sholmes to you, Shirley. Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand today, even though he's just returned from overseas. Wait a minute. You met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial, only briefly that. I wonder if she knows so much about us. Did she deduce all those things, do you think? Perhaps more to the point. Why is she here in Mr. Sholmes' suite? Silly me, I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Irish Wilson. Iris. I live here together with Hurley. Iris, is it? What a lovely name. Wait, what's the matter? Wait, this can't be. Did you say that your name is Wilson? What's the matter, Susato-san? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden? That's right. What are your names? Oh, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan. Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Mikitoba Susato Mikitoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely, Susie and Runo. Got it. Susie and Bruno? There's more to this girl that meets the eye. I have so many questions for her. I don't know where to start. So do I. Alright, let's chat. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey? Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming. At the time we didn't have a rather large gun pointed at us. Like this? Thinking about now, you left Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you? That awkward witness, Gina Lestrade. Oh, Ginny? Yes, she's a professional pickpocket. So we found out. It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that. Are you referring to that trial disrupting gun like contraption? Exactly, so I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self destruct mechanism into my inventions. This girl is dangerous. Anyway, I brought Ginny back here after that. So she could apologize to my trusty technician. Sorry, your technician? Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley? Herlock Sholmes. We live here together. I had no idea the great detective had such an interesting young daughter. Daughter? Not likely. What? I couldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Oh, what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Well, I expect you to find out that lodging of any kind in London is very expensive. The solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate. Your roommates? I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10, at last this year. Oh, what of your mother and father? Oh no, they're not around. Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. Well, that's sad. There's something I must ask you. Of course, of course. Go ahead, Susie. I'm a very great fan of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and you have a copy of the Rings magazine. I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world. My stories? She's a writer. That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me about them. They are really quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if the only one who ever hear them, don't you think? I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness. Last night, he was telling me all about the new case he was just solved on the steamship, traveling from a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before he came. So you are the author. I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm going to call this latest adventure the Speckled Band. Speckled Band? That's really very familiar. Of course, I'd always change one or two details in the story here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble. That's Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually. Yeah, of course, I know that a snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but it's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, don't you think? So do you mean to say, are the stories about Mr. Sholmes are published in the Man's magazine? All written by me? Yes, of course. On my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson. Susato-san's getting more and more worked up. Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part? That's all true too. I am a doctor of medicine. At 10 years old? At 10 years old? Well, that's quite incredible. But, Dr. Wilson's an English gentleman. Ah, yes. I did alter the setting slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow? I suppose it does, yes. Poor Susato-san. She looks like her whole world is just falling apart. But before... Yes, what's on your mind, Runo? How did you know that I was a lawyer and that we'd arrive in London, I mean? Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all of that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell me how you did it. Explain every detail. Well, I think some are obvious. I'd be delighted, although there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present her logic and reasoning spectacular. Whoa. First of all, I knew already that you were a lawyer, Runa. After all, I met yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber. But you also said we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that? I observed a passport and a traveling ticket protruding your breast pocket. Oh, I was reasonably confident that you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against a particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs. The Reaper of the Bailey? I walked right into that one, didn't I? Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with the suspect, weren't you, yesterday? They use those stamps to keep a close eye on the comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize. And the red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So that told me that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you already caused to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you wear a particularly sad expression on your face, so I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case. I see. How could you have known the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely home for a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. Obviously, it amused him. He told me he caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling. Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been Mr. Natsume. No, Ryuno has a fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that you both come from Japan yourselves, so I put two and two together and decided you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught. And there's only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. She is so much smarter than Hurley, in my opinion. There's a note on the mantelpiece that says a man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley is always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know? He's silly. And that's all there is to it, really. Thanks for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions. Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct? They were spot on. That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction. You even managed to ascertain something of Mr. Sholm's delivery. Oh, well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that. That's really great news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying? Yes. Hurley had just arrived in London after a sea voyage, but the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene. The great detective is a popular man, it seems. Apparently a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had been short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man. Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. Sasaki-san said he didn't see anyone else on the street at all, but it seems there were witnesses after all. Hurley uses great deductive powers to determine the man's address. There's a lodging room very nearby. He went directly there with the police. What did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man, shivering in fear. Mr. Sholm's great deduction surely hit the mark that time. He's a great detective. Still, but that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it? Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Charlie says that London is rife with crime. Scotland Yard's doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear, I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying criminals in court. Excuse me. Staff and money are both short, and crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system. I suppose it is, but in that case, I don't hold so much hope for Saseki-san. Oh, I forgot to turn on the music back. Whoops. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative. Oh, you're most welcome. I had so much fun. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? So you guessed. You'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well. Well, I expect Shelley is still investigating the scene. The case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, Mr. Nuts... Ume? Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Yes, do you know where those lodgings are? Hey, Donaway, welcome back. How was breakfast? Right now, we are chatting with Iris, who is the detective's roommates. The detective being Mr. Herlock Sholmes, and we're going to find Natsume, who is the suspect in the murder. We're going to go to his lodgings. I see. So, well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson when you were there? Nice. Yes, we know. Inspector Gregson. Goody. In that case, give Gregsy this from me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know. What's this? 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems. Iris's postcard has been entered into the court record. It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." This will make the inspector help us, will it? Oh, thank you, Iris. I'll give it a try. I guess we might just skip to the chase and head to Natsume's house. Alright, I'm going to return to my writing the manuscript, The Speckled Band, and I'll be making more special blends of tea. So come back again soon. We'll be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Alrighty. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, back to the scene of the crime. Let's go. So somewhat dubious what they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all, we headed back to the scene of the crime with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. This music is just delightful. To be continued.